Bafana have qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations, and they did it in style without losing a single game, winning 4 and drawing 2. And I tell you now, we wouldn't have drawn the other game if it wasn't for that stupid artificial pitch. But anyways, Asiko up. Let's start by looking at the changes that the coach made and how they affected the game. Let's look at the structure of the team. Let's also look at the tweaks that the coach made, the impact of the subs, and how well the plan was executed. Let's start with the starting 11 then. Modiba goes off and Fals Pasatin's like, Danko, I'm just going to come in. And I think that this sub has two things that are very important about it. Number one, Fals Pasatin, it's in Cape Town, so it's a good place for him to play. But also, quality-wise, he's there. He's not really maybe at the level of Modiba exactly, but is very close. Center back pairing, Vala gets injured, who comes in for him? The guy who plays in Europe, I mean. It's not a bad sub for a player who's playing in Europe, Ungezana, FSCP, to come in and he's playing in the Europa League and bring that experience as well and come in and play. And they had nothing to do really at defender because we were attacking the whole time. And then in midfield, obviously, Luke Leroux going off, and then this time around, Tito Maswangai comes on. And let me just address, why was Maswangai not even played in the previous game? Because in the previous game, we were trying to control midfield. But this time around, we knew that this team was going to sit back and we needed to be creating chances. So you see that this game needs this type of player, and then you bring on that player for the time being. And it happened, and it worked like magic. And the other change that we made was obviously Tapelo Morena coming in for Elias Mkwana. The chemistry between Umtao and Umrena, obviously they are playing in the same team. But on top of that, if Umrena is not Umrena, if Umtao gets caught up front, Umrena can track back and mark for him. That means Lapa, you just have a situation where they cannot attack that side because we have two right backs, but at the same time they can play as modern full backs. And we're going to talk about that goal, and maybe you might have missed how important Umrena is to this to this team. And obviously, Ikram Brenas also comes on for evidence. Mahopa, we need rotation, we need to give people chances, especially people who have been already in the squad. Because I see some people are complaining about the fact that, oh no, why are you not giving these other players a chance? Here's the thing, we're trying to finish first. Because if we finish first, then we are going to get an easier group at AFCON. Because the last thing we want to do is go to AFCON and be in a difficult group, while you could have just won this game and you go to AFCON and then you are playing with easier teams. And that means you are saving your energy, you are saving your best players, so that when you get to knockout stages, then you are bringing out the big guns. Or even if it's not even about resting your best players, but it's just about warming up into the tournament, and by the time you get to last 16, when you have to play against difficult teams, you have already warmed up enough. Not to go to first game, you are playing Egypt, Hibana. Now it's difficult from the get-go, so we needed to finish first. The time and the complaints about the coach not giving everyone a fair chance, or whatever that means, I just think it doesn't make sense, because we needed to finish first in this group. Enough about the politics and all of that. Let's look at the tactical approach of the coach, the structure of the team. By the way, if it just happens that you are liking the video right now, just like it and subscribe to the channel. You know, yeah. So, Bafana, we know when we're building up, we are building up with the 3, which includes the goalkeeper and the back line, which is the center back pairing, which is, in this case, Utotli and Ungezana. And on top of that, I want you to look at something. We already know there's a flat 4 in front of them, of the right back, which is Umtao, the left back, which is Upasatin, the 2 double pivots. And then in front of them, you will find a 10, which is Upatrick Maswangai. But on top of that, you must also look at something else. You see also Napolis, he joins in and he becomes a second 10. And then up front, you will then have who? You will obviously have the striker Ikram Brenas, and you will have Umrena in and around them. But what is also important here is the fact that when we reach the final third, see how our police is now the person who's wide when it comes to the left side. Why is he wide and it's no longer Upasatin? Because Upasatin is now inverted into midfield, which is something that our police does in our first, when we're in our first third. Our police is in midfield and Upasatini is wide. But now it's the other way around. Well, it's simple. It's because Apollis is a winger and is a better dribbler. So you want to make sure that you overload the midfield, and we're drawing South Sudan into midfield. And by doing that, we're now allowing Apollis to have a 1v1 with the right back. And now, since he's a good dribbler in any case, he can be able to create things for us in that position. But also, I want you to notice something that was happening in our midfield, and Ubatus Aupas. The role that he's playing is so crucial, accurate with regaining position, and is a much more physical player than Mkwena, it seems, because you can see all over just intercepting Amapola, getting the ball back, and most importantly, then launching an attack from winning those ball back. Look at this other thing, Igemanchek, the movement of Umrena. I talked about him not just being a right back or a right winger, but there's also the sense that in the Bafana team, it's no longer about you are a right back, you are a right winger or whatever. It's also about the spaces that we occupy. Look at the goal that we score. You will see that before we even talk about the goal, you will see the movement of Umrena that he kept on making in that position. First of all, he drops as if he's going to come short to receive the ball. He drags a defender with him, and then because he's a pacey dude, and then he turns around and he tries to run. The pass doesn't get to him. But since there's that right back thing on him, he comes back, he wins the ball back. And look at the sequence of play after that. He wins the ball back, and now he was wide. He goes into the half space. He receives the ball there. He plays it back, and then he goes into midfield. He receives the ball. He plays it back. He then asks for the ball. Now, in between players, he receives the ball. Then now he's passing it to the final third. And once we get to the final third, he has the ball again. And now it's just panic stations in the South Sudan defense. And in doing that, they are no longer paying attention to Apollis, who's now running inside between the defenders, and he gets the ball and he cuts it back, and then we score a goal. But you look at where Umrena came from the other side to this other side, and we end up scoring a goal. When Tito scores this goal, we see the same thing. You see how many people are in the box. You have 4 people. 4. Umrena is already inside the box. You have Tito joining in the box. You have Apollis also in the box, and you also have Urenas in the box. Mtau plays the cross into the box. They struggle to defend it, and then the ball ends up with Reinas, who plays it to Mkwena. Now, Utito, you can see he's raising his hand, ready to receive the ball, and he wanted the ball to be played to him so that he could head it. But that's not what happened. Mkwena instead shoots. But since there is a body of defenders in front of that goalkeeper, he sees it late and he doesn't handle the ball properly. And we must give Tito credit for this, because he has so much awareness to be in the box and expect something to go wrong with the keeper. And what happens next is just brilliant. Because he doesn't shoot first time. Instead, he sits the goalkeeper down and then he just passes the ball into the net. That is just brilliant. But once again, it's not just about Tito being brilliant, which he is, but it's also about the fact that when they were defending, they were just under siege. And when you are defending under so much pressure, because Bafana are committing so many numbers forward, you end up panicking and not doing things properly, and you end up being forced into making mistakes. No team just wakes up and makes mistakes. They are forced to make mistakes. And that is one of the things that big teams do, dominant teams do. You force your opponents to make mistakes. Which brings us to the adjustments that the coach made. In the second half, it was clear now that we're pushing Umtau much further forward earlier on in the game, because we realized, or the coach did realize, that, okay, seems like these guys are scared of us, even much more than we thought. So we're just pushing everyone forward. And just as much as we got that goal, Tito, by crossing the ball from the side of Umtau, being at the edge of the box, even here, there's that 1-2 playing. Umtau plays the ball and then he makes a run, and then they trip him in the box, and then we get a penalty, and then we scored. But the other thing that you must also notice is something that we've been doing: overload to switch. I've been talking about this thing. So this is what happens. You see that when we're attacking on the right, I talked about the chemistry of Thapelo Mrena and Umtao. So when they are playing on the right, you also see Utito Maswanganyi joining them to overload the right hand side. And then it could be someone else, even our police could go there and overload with them, like you can see here. So now you have 4 people and you are forcing South Sudan to commit more people to the right. And upon doing that, what do? We then switch the ball to the other side. And guess who's giving us the width? Yes, you guessed it, Fawaz Basatin. And then we end up getting opportunities where you can shoot or you can cut the ball back, and then we can have good opportunities. So these are all good things that we are mastering, and we see them appearing consistently throughout the games that we're playing. And let's talk about the subs, because the main sub that I want to talk about is Relebule Mfukeng, whom people have been complaining about. Why is he not being played? For starters, who is he going to play in position of? Because Apolis has performed very good for Bafana, scoring, assisting. So what are we going to do? You're just going to take out a player who's performing just because we want Mfukeng to play. And remember, right now, Mfukeng is a star player, is very good for your Pirates. But even at Pirates, they are not playing him dominantly as a winger. He starts as a winger and inverts. And if you looked at those subs, Umbata came on for Aupas, but Mfukeng came on for who? For Utito, because now Mfukeng is being played as a 10. And you can see here, it wasn't even starting as a winger and getting into midfield, but he was starting in midfield because he's just capable of dropping, collecting the ball and causing trouble and being disrespectful to his elders and dribbling them and doing unspeakable things to them. But also, what he does very well is that when he gets the ball, since they know that he's very good, you see him attracting like 3 people to him, and then he can play the ball in behind and we can start doing things. So Mfukeng, the person that he could be benching, is playing as a left winger, but that person happens to be on form very much. But also at a 10, when Thembazwane is available, you can't just bench Thembazwane just because you want to play Mfukeng. You also can't bench Utito, who's a natural 10, while you are still converting Urele into that 10, because he can always be an impact player. And give him 2 years, even in the next tournament, I can tell you now that Mfukeng will be a very good player and someone that we can call upon to come and make a difference. So let's take a chill pill and accept the fact that in Bafana, it's not about Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns or Stellies. It's all about Bafana. It's all about being a South African. And I think that as South Africans, we should stop pushing this agenda that, oh, this coach hates Pirate players, yet Nangutetu yadlala, yet the other players. But abantu bazoloku befuna push agenda yabo. Nabe Chiefs bazo show the same thing. Why is so and so not being called up? Sundowns, why is so and so not being played? Let's just focus on South Africa, especially since we can clearly see that the coach is cooking something. Overall, the execution of the plan was proper to a T. There were some glitchy moments, but we're not going to focus on that. It's a football match where there will be glitchy moments. But overall, Hugo Bruce, his boys, they have this thing cooking. And I'm interested and curious to hear what you guys thought of the game. Do let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you, and I will see you on the next one. By the way, what else do you want to see me analyze from this game?